I feel so weird starting off this video because clearly my background has changed a little bit. It's the same couch, but we are in a different place. And so I'm starting the October Coffee and Money Talk from Los Angeles in our new home. If you missed the announcement, be sure to go back and watch our big announcement video where we explain why moving to Los Angeles is helping us in pursuit of financial freedom. It sounds so backwards, but trust me, there is a plan in place. So it's been a hot minute since I filmed any video. September was just basically one big shit show, and I will get into that because I figured not only am I going to be answering your questions, I just wanted to give you guys an update of what's been going on for the past like 5 weeks. So to back it up, in the beginning of September, I left for Orlando to attend FinCon 22, which is a big conference for personal finance influencers and media. We meet with brands, I meet with other influencers, podcasters, YouTubers, social media content creators, authors, speakers, the whole 9 yards. It was so much fun. I actually got to promote my book, Investing for Kids activity book, there at the conference. And I also got to speak at the conference talking about growing and monetizing on YouTube. It was all great. When I came back home to San Diego, the day that I came back home, I tested positive for COVID for the first time ever. I kind of had the slight sniffles, but I thought it was just from the overexhaustion I was feeling from the conference, and it slowly turned into something way worse. And what made it a lot worse is that we had movers coming 2 days later to pack us up and move us to Los Angeles from San Diego. So I had to isolate from Kyle and Quinn, and it was terrible. At one point, I had to completely leave our unit in San Diego because the movers obviously did not want to be around somebody who had tested positive. So I literally just laid down on a pool chair at our pool in the building. Thank God nobody was up there, and I just had to stay outside for literally 5 hours straight. It was miserable. By that time, I was getting all of like the body aches and chills, and it was bad. I had to isolate in a hotel once we got up to LA. We emergency flew out my youngest sister to help us with Quinn so that Kyle could have some extra hands while he was directing moving traffic and boxes and keeping a 1.5-year-old contained. It's been crazy ever since. I literally have not worked. The entire month of September was just gone. So I'm really glad to be back into making videos this morning because I just feel so out of touch. And especially moving is a big expense. We had so much money going out of our account that this was the first time in years that I was like, Kyle, when are you getting paid next? When are you getting paid? Like, how much money do I have so I can pay myself? Because we need to make this rent, we've got to pay for this lease breakage, we've got to pay for new things in the place. It's just been madness. Thankfully, we're getting things kind of slowly back into place, but on top of the 18-month-old sleep regression that Quinn is experiencing and the early morning wake-ups this morning, she got up at 5 a.m. and cried for like 40 minutes straight before we went in there. It was miserable. I'm really hoping that we can get through this because it's just like, it's a lot. I'm totally word vomiting right now and just kind of like, this is my life lately. But let's go ahead and get into your questions because I think these are really fun. Number one, thoughts on housing market and mortgage rates increasing. Well, I'm halfway excited, halfway scared. Halfway excited because we are seeing a lot more inventory on the housing market and homes sitting on the housing market being listed for sale for longer periods of time than last year. So that makes me wonder and think that, okay, as the mortgage rates are increasing, buyers are more reluctant to actually go into these bidding wars. So that makes me excited. And I actually was watching some videos here on YouTube that talked about how there is a lot of cities in the US that are poised to have a potential crash in their housing market where we're going to see home prices drop anywhere between 20 and 30%. One of those areas being Colorado, which I'm super stoked about because that's where we want to buy. And the one thing that really gets me nervous about all of this is that now we're seeing mortgage rates at 6.9%. That is insane, and I know it's only going to go up from here. By the time we get to December, it very well could be 8%. Okay, number 2, moving across country to Seattle and not sure where to start budgeting for moving costs. Okay, one thing that helps me out with moving to LA and what you could do for your move to Seattle is to create a mock budget based on your Seattle expenses. So what I like to do is I like to look up on Zillow what rent prices are or mortgage price, like mortgage payments if you were going to buy in Seattle, and then factor that into your budget. You can also Google search average utilities cost of a 1,000 square foot apartment in Seattle. Or you could look up the electric and gas company in Seattle and then see if they have kind of an averages or a calculator to help you with the utilities cost, and then go from there. Honestly, what I'm finding is that like groceries and things like that, if you're already living in a high cost of living area, like if you're moving from the Bay Area to Seattle, LA to Seattle, the cost of food and things like that and gas are going to be roughly the same. Also, I would get estimates from 3 moving companies if your employer is not going to be moving for you. If you can get estimates from 3 moving companies, then you'll be able to determine which things you definitely want. Like we knew we definitely wanted packers to pack up our stuff, and so we negotiated that as part of Kyle's move with his company. Also, I would create a moving budget based on the things that you find out. I think one thing that I left out that I wished I would have done from our San Diego to LA move is to create a sinking fund for moving expenses. Not necessarily like the movers in general, since we had that paid for by his employer, but things like, oh, we need 3 bath mats, not 1. We need a standalone paper towel holder instead of one that screws into the wall. Things like that we're trying to figure out. Like the furnishings here is slightly different than what we had in San Diego. I wished we would have built up a like moving or like home decor, new apartment, LA apartment sinking fund that would have covered those expenses. Number 3, recently found out you can use a whole life insurance policy to help pay for a down payment. Yes, you can, but when you do this, it actually borrows from the death benefit, and the death benefit is the money that would go to your loved ones in the case of your passing. I don't like doing this. In fact, I don't think whole life, anything that you should be touching with 10-foot pole, but that is something that you can do. Number 4, do you have life insurance, and if so, recommendations? Another life insurance question. I actually did a whole video on life insurance you'll definitely want to check out. I will link to that up here in the cards where I talk about the differences between whole life and term life. Yes, we do have a life insurance policy through Kyle's employer. Now, since he's changed employers, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing. If I know his new employer actually has that as an option for us, I just don't know what that's going to look like and how that's going to change in terms of numbers. But I always look for a term life insurance policy, and if you're around the millennial age, you're in your 30s, look for a 30-year life insurance policy so that you can use that to cover and protect yourself during your working years and while we're building up our investments. You'll definitely want to check out my life insurance video to see what works best for you. Number 5, what is a good amount to spend on a new car in comparison to income? This is a really good question. So my philosophy is always pay for your car in cash. Cash for cars always. So when I think about it in that regard, then I'm not so stuck on the price to earnings ratio when it comes to buying a new car. And when you say new car, I'm always thinking of a new to me car. So that's usually used or pre-owned. I'm never buying directly off the lot because of car depreciation with brand new vehicles can depreciate upwards of 20% in the first year. So that's why I stick with used cars, and I use things like Consumer Reports to help me make an educated search on what vehicle is going to fit my needs and fit my family's needs. So to give you an idea, when we bought our 2015 Subaru Forester, we paid for it in cash and the sticker price was around $25,000. At that time in 2015, what were we, or 2017 is when we bought it. Gosh, we must have been making a combined $170,000, let's call it. So let's see, $25,000 out of 170. So that was roughly 15% of our income. I felt like that was a very manageable purchase that we saved for a couple of years and then we were able to buy. So 15%, but again, I'm really only focusing on the cash. How much cash can I pay? If you want a $50,000 car and you're making $100,000, sure. Are you debt free? Do you have an emergency fund? Are you maxing out your retirement savings in your 401k? If so, sure. If that $50K car is going to make you happy, do it. But do it by paying for it in cash. Number 6, no home loans, but our house is in need of a renovation. Peace of mind and value. Do I do a loan or put off? When it comes to doing home renos and cars and all that, only move as fast as cash. The cash that you have for a home reno is what you're going to be putting into the home reno. I would never advise to take out a loan in order to have peace of mind and value. Like, I feel like having that additional loan and paying off that loan is going to be the opposite of peace of mind. Wouldn't you have more peace of mind if you were actually saving for that entire home renovation in cash? Maybe you start small and do just, is it just fixtures? Is it literally just the aesthetics of it? Or you tearing out drywall? So think about it in terms of sections. If you can section this off and have like friends and family to help you with it and keep it cost efficient, I think that is going to give you way more peace of mind than taking out a loan. Number 7, best tips for saving money. My best tip for saving money is to build your savings right into your budget. Do not forget to put savings into your budget, especially if you are looking to save for things like an emergency fund, or you want to start a vacation fund, a new car, a down payment. Building those things right into your budget is going to make all the difference. And step 2 of that would be to automate those savings contributions. Even if you just automate $20 a month, at least you know, I for sure have $20 a month going into this savings account. No questions asked, it's automated. This is non-negotiable. You know how when paying your minimum payments on your debt is like, you have to do that, otherwise it gets sent to collections and bad things can happen. You need to think about your savings in that regard. This is non-negotiable. If this doesn't happen, I am putting myself in a bad situation. That is how I view savings, and that's why you should factor it into your budget and automate it as much as possible. Number 8, favorite brewery in San Diego. Modern Times and Rip Current. You can find Rip Current in North Park. I think Modern Times is also in North Park. There's a ton of breweries in North Park, all within walking distance. But now that we're in LA, I'm gonna have to find a new brewery spot. So if you know of any breweries specifically that's like coastal LA, definitely let me know and I wanna check it out. Okay, number 9, how do I start a budget? Definitely check out my budget toolkit. This is a free resource for you. This is the exact same budget spreadsheet that my husband and I have used. I've been using it since 2012 when I actively started managing my income and expenses that helped me pay off $35,000 in debt in 2.5 years on a $37,000 income. debtfreemillennials.com/toolkit is going to get you the free download. You can also click the link below to sign up. Number 10, getting a big settlement check. Have $20K in credit card debt, pay that off first, then put into savings. Okay, you're always going to address the emergency fund first. If you have $0 in your emergency fund, what happens if you put all of that $20K into the credit card debt? And then you have an emergency such as your phone breaks, you get a flat tire, your car breaks down, you get really sick. Where's the money coming from to help pay for that? That is why the emergency fund takes precedent over the debt. So ideally, you're going to have 2 to 3 months of living expenses set aside in a separate savings account for your emergencies. So figure that out, whatever that number is. By the way, I have a whole video that explains how to do that. I will link to that up here in the cards for you to check out. Once that has been addressed and you have at least 2 to 3 months of living expenses set up in that emergency fund, then you can go back and address the credit card debt with whatever is left over, then you can throw it to the debt. Okay, 11, I have a term and whole life policy. More life insurance questions. Wondering if I should cancel the whole life policy. Thoughts? Yes, cancel that whole life. Why do you have 2 policies? Why do you have 2 policies? That's so weird. You only have one set of family members, correct? Like, you only need one pot of money to be distributed to your spouse or to your kids. So cancel the whole life policy and stick with term. Number 12, what to do after debt-free and retirement is maxed. Okay. Are all of your retirement accounts maxed? Your 401k, your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA? Are you doing any kind of outside investing with like a brokerage account? If so, by the way, if you don't know the steps for that, I also have a video on that, the steps for retirement. I think you could also check out The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, where he breaks that down. And if you've done all of that, let's plan your FIRE number. So FIRE is financially independent retired early. That is the amount of money in your investment accounts that you can safely withdraw from for the rest of your life without having to work any longer. I love this concept. It's definitely big within the FinCon community. There is a whole set of FIRE individuals who are fixed on this goal to not work and to have passive income through their retirements, through their investing accounts. So you'll want to figure out that number. So I actually have a video on that as well. I will link to that up here in the cards for you to check out. 13, thoughts on renting with kids. We've got a great place, but I still feel guilty not owning. Let me ask you a couple of questions about that. Does your child have a roof over their head? Do they have a bed that they can come home to every night and get a peaceful night's rest? Do they have food in the fridge? If yes, do not feel guilty about renting. I certainly don't feel guilty about renting, and my daughter is thriving and doing just fine. Does she have her toys? Yes. She's got room and space to play. She has her mom and her dad. She feels loved. I do not feel guilty about renting. Do I want more space and a place to call my own? Absolutely. And that's something that we are working on for the time being. But right now, it doesn't matter. They're little. They don't know the difference. They know the difference if you are showing up for them and if you are providing their basic needs and on some level some emotional support and emotional needs. You're doing just fine. 14, how can I get started with affiliate marketing? Okay, a good piece of advice that I got from Ryan Scribner a while back is that you need to really pick 2 to 3 products or companies that you absolutely love and go all in with those with their affiliate programs. So if you're thinking about like, what are the products and services that I most love to use and that I would love to share with people, and then start promoting that. So for me, I really love Fetch Rewards. I've talked about Fetch Rewards a lot on this channel. By the way, they've never sponsored me, which they should. I love using it because it's so easy. Scan a receipt, you get points, you redeem those points for gift cards. Those gift cards have saved my ass in so many different occasions, whether it's like I want extra money for birthday without going and dipping into my budget. I've actually tapped into it a lot with this move and saying, okay, we need to buy more things off of Amazon to get this house organized. I'm gonna redeem some points for an Amazon gift card. It's been a lifesaver. So if I know that, then I need to be creating more content related to Fetch Rewards and talking about Fetch Rewards because I find the value in it and I know it's going to be valuable for you too. Think about that when you are starting in affiliate marketing. 2 to 3 products or services, that's it. Go all in, make multiple pieces of content on that. 15, what if my daughter doesn't want to go to college but I invested in a 529 plan? Okay, so what's cool about this is if you open it on behalf of your daughter, you can actually use the money for yourself. yourself. So you can transfer the beneficiary back to your name, and if you want to go to school or do some continuing education, you can use the funds for that. Alternatively, you can use it for another family member, and there's a list of qualifying family members that you can transfer ownership to. So it could be a niece, a nephew, a stepson, a stepdaughter, a parent, all of those things. You can also, instead of paying for college, you can pay for her vocational school for it as well. So any kind of tech school that she might get into, you can use the money for that. Also, if she doesn't want to go to college right now and she's 18 years old, perhaps maybe later down the road in 2-3 years, she might change her mind. So you could still just keep that money parked there for now. And then if she changes her mind, you'd still have the money set aside, ready to go. Number 16, what is a Pell Grant? A Pell Grant is free money issued by the government to a college student in which that student does not have to pay that money back. So typically when it comes to Pell Grants, recipients have to show extreme financial hardship, or oftentimes there are financial income requirements there where they're either at or below the poverty line in order to qualify for a Pell Grant. By the way, right now Biden had announced that Pell Grant recipients can qualify for up to $20,000 in student loan forgiveness. So if that's you, you definitely want to check out studentaid.gov to hear the latest announcements in order to qualify. All right, number 17, will you be writing a money book for kids less than 8 years old? That would be awesome. No plans in place for anything for less than 8 years old, but since I have a 1.5-year-old, I think that would be a great way to like come up with something that I would teach my daughter that I could also put into a book. Right now, the Investing for Kids activity book is available on Amazon for you to purchase. That book was written for kids 8 to 12, but honestly, I can see a lot of those activities working for high school age students as well, especially the investing section. I think they'll find it really valuable and interesting. I would really love to write the next book for college age students. That's kind of my sweet spot, and a lot of my personal finance journey I felt like really started in college, so I'd love to do that. No plans for a second book yet, but I think it could be in the works, hopefully. We'll see. I'm just still trying to survive this whole transition of moving from San Diego to LA and just feeling at peace with where I'm at and just getting back into work. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this coffee and money talk. Did I even like pull up my coffee? I don't even think I did. So we had some coffee, we chit-chatted a lot. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you guys want to continue seeing videos just like this where we're just hanging out together talking about money and life, be sure to give this a big thumbs up so I know to create another one. I'll catch you in the next video.